So you'd be my seller?
Yeah.
Okay. Come over on the screen. So okay. So we already went through the original intro. I'll just start it off. So, Monica, thank you for your time today. You have a beautiful home. My promise to you is to make sure that at the end of this presentation, you feel confident in selling your home and knowing that we can get top dollar for the sale of your home. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Great, great. Well, before we get started, so typically I'm going to go over the overview at that point, right?
Like the
So I did the math. No, this
Okay.
is so at a listing. So I'm at your house now,
Okay.
right? And so then I would say we do an overview. The overview would be, okay, to get started, we're going to cover your needs, your wants, your expectations. Okay. Then second, we're going to talk about what I do to sell homes, right? To make sure that we get top dollar. 3, we're going to talk about the market, where it's been, where it's at, and where it's headed, right?
Okay.
Finally, if you feel confident that I can sell your home and get you top dollar and get you in San Diego by June, then we're going to take care of some paperwork. Does that sound great?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just curious, do you know what it is that agents do to sell homes in this market?
Hold open houses.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do. Any other things that you're aware of that a listing agent, when you hire an agent, what they're supposed to do to sell your home and make sure that they get you top dollar?
Not really. I mean, I always got postcards and some postcards also.
Yeah, they do like sending a lot of postcards, don't they?
Yeah, I got a
What do
lot.
you do with those postcards?
Just toss them.
Okay, you mean you don't frame them and hang them in your
No,
room
I
to?
just toss them.
Okay, yeah, that's typically what most people do. So great. May I share with you what a top producing agent like myself does to sell homes and make sure that we take care of things in a timely fashion?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, one, my job is to consult and advise you. Okay. My goal is to take the guesswork out of real estate. This is a very complex process. Okay. Number 2, my job is to market and expose your property to the highest level. I want to cast the biggest net out there. Sure, you've heard of some multiple offer situations out in the market right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
right? It's very low inventory. And yes, anybody can list a home, but there's a key and there's a strategy in making sure that we expose this to the fullest extent possible. And the good news is, and I got to pause it real quick. I normally wouldn't go this in depth. I'm trying to give you guys some different examples of how you can handle the market and exposure. Typically with every benefit, you want to give, or every one of these pillars, you want to give 2 benefits. Okay. We normally don't want to go too long with it because we can lose it. I'm probably already doing it, right? But I'm going to give you some different ways of how we can hit market and expose. Because market and expose to me, especially being a part of Century 21, is the one you really can get excited about. And if they show some interest in it, then you're really going to emphasize it even more. Okay. So one way I handle the market and exposure also is, the good news is if you hire me, I work with Century 21, the most recognized name brand for over 40 years. Just like Coca-Cola, when people see a Coca-Cola soda, they know what that is, right? By brand recognition. It's the same thing with Century 21. So if somebody sees a Century 21 sign, they don't question what's that sign. They know the home's for sale, right? And that we're in over 80 countries. We're on every single continent. We have offices in every single continent. Do you know where most buyers come from? Cash investors. Guess which country they come from? China, right? So China, you must do your research, right? So China, we have over 1,000 offices in China. Yes. So when you list with us, you're exposed in over 80 countries across the globe. You're getting international exposure. It's translated into 18 different languages. You can go to century21global.com to see that not only does it go out in 18 languages, it's also translated into 4 different currencies, however you say that. Yeah, not translated, but you know what I mean, right? 4 different currencies so that they can see what that house is worth in that particular country, right? So, all right, let me get back to the script now. So that was pillar number 2, market and expose the property. 3, my job is to negotiate the best terms for you. It is my duty, it's my stewardship to protect your hard-earned equity that's in your property, okay? So number 4, my job is to oversee the transaction. Did you realize that from the very first call after we sign this paperwork and get started till when we successfully close, that more than 150 phone calls typically take place?
Really?
Did you also realize that we typically have to sell each home twice in this market to successfully sell for the close of a property, to make sure that all the money and everything transfers over to you, we typically have to sell a home twice. So what I mean is sometimes it doesn't work with the first buyer because of these bidding war situations. And so a buyer may feel that they're overpaying for the property. And so what we do is we have certain specific strategies to make sure that we have backup offers in place. And I'm going to share with you some more examples about that, once we get started with this process. Okay. So Monica, I'm just curious, do any of those things, do you find any value in an agent doing those things to help you sell your home?
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like you know what you're
Great, great. Anything specifically that you like?
doing. Just that you're really gonna oversee the whole transaction. I want to make sure all of my contracts are done correctly.
Absolutely. And the great thing is I have a team that I've built around me. I've been doing this for about 20 years now. So I only work with the best of the best people. And my transaction coordinator is phenomenal. And she's also a licensed agent as well. And she's been doing TC work for over 6 years. Okay. So she's phenomenal. So her eyes will be on everything as well as mine. Okay. As well as my office manager when I need to bring them in. I also have a very strong escrow officer. You have the choice to pick, but I have recommendations of different people that I've worked with that are proven, that are good at what they do. And they also want our future business. Okay. So they're going to help us in situations that we need to know certain information to make sure, because when you get far in this process, you're going to be moving to San Diego. We want to make sure there's no hiccups or anything on this end that we're not aware of. Okay, so that's why that communication is so key. And finally, the loan officer that I work with is phenomenal. Also a big part of our success in the past as well. Okay, he's honest, he's straightforward, and he knows his things in terms of what the current underwriter requirements are, which is a big reason also why a lot of transactions have been falling out over the last couple of years since COVID specifically. Okay, so that's key to have that person on the team. So anything else that you're looking for in terms of selling your property?
Not yet. I just kind of want to hear what you have to say about the price and commission.
Beautiful. And we'll get to that. So that's just a quick little, not quick, that was a pretty in-depth example, right? So normally we're going to hit those 4 pillars. And I'll do it one last time real quickly, just to try to get through it fast so that you can see when we're practicing it, how we want to practice it. Okay. So may I share with you what I do to sell homes?
Yeah.
Great. My job is again to, what's one?
Consult
Consult and advise, right? Take the guesswork out of real estate. Okay. Number 2, my job is to market and exposure property. It's my job, and the great news, you're with Century 21, right? You will get maximum exposure when you list with us in the Century 21. Number 3, my job is to negotiate the best terms, right? You have to decide who you want in your corner to make sure you overcome appraisal situations that come up in this market, as well as repairs. Okay, from the beginning to the end of the transaction, negotiating the price is only one aspect. Then we have to negotiate throughout the transaction to make sure we protect your money. Okay. Number 4, our job is to oversee the transaction. Okay. And then I'd say the 2 things. Did you realize it's 150 phone calls from beginning to end? And then secondly, that on average, we have to sell each home twice. Okay. Because that's really important, especially making sure we get a 6-month contract. Okay. So that's it roughly. Can we practice that? Okay. Are you ready first, Monica? You want to do it first, or do you want everybody grab a partner and then you guys can practice? I can practice with whoever's available. So just go ahead and try it once each way, and then we'll try something else. But if you haven't done it already, make sure you write this down. This is something you want to practice all the time and make it as much as it can be second nature. Because this is, you'll see that even if you don't specifically go through the 4 pillars, every single thing you do with your plan of action, which is the second part of the listing presentation, ties into one of those pillars, right? Your ability to communicate it. Some people I've seen just wowed by it. Others, it sounded too scripted. These were people that I knew, and it sounded too scripted. I was like, wow, I got to polish that up a little bit more. I got to engage them more in the conversation. They didn't like going 1, 2, 3, 4. So I had to tie it in more of through the presentation. I said, this is what we do. You know what I mean? Kind of let's through it. So let's practice it. Everybody grab a partner. We'll do that for say 47, about 5 minutes. Go ahead and grab one, and then I'll.
Or I can do it here.
Sure.
That's gonna be the.
Okay. Get
You
comfortable.
want to be on
What am I
camera?
doing? You're the agent.
No,
and then
right.
I'll go.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I'll
So
be the
we've already
salary.
gone through the stuff, now talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So remember C, we know. So consultant advised is the C, and then market and expose is the me, and then no is negotiate. And O is negotiate the best terms. So C, we know.
So, again, thanks for.
So,
thanks for having me
Brenda,
over.
thank you
Really
for
looking forward to this
coming
process
over.
today.
So may I share with you what it is that I do?
That's why I'm really good.
Okay, so there are four main things that I actually. And number one is market and advice. Consultant advice.
It's okay, and again, they don't know what the right answer is, just go with it.
Most of us
The
do
order
that.
doesn't have to be exactly that, that's just the way that we start to use it, that's why I remember. So do it, whatever flows.
So the number one is consultant advice, which I'll just basically walk you through the process.
A lot more to it, not as an example. So first of
So
all.
number two
my-
is
my crucial is
market
I-
and
I
exposure.
advise you.
And the great thing about that is it actually works in Central Illinois, which means that we have the largest network of stations all around the world. We
I
actually
also
have every continent. And we also,
My goal is to.
so when you work with me,
Uh-huh.
and once I market your property is gonna be exposed all over the world.
Wow.
More
And
people or
you
fewer
know,
people.
you know, my insurance, Brenda, we're
More people, obvious, right?
highest
And
number
so
of
that's
buyers
something that
covered, investors
I make sure.
I guess either Mexico or China, Asia.
China, actually, yeah, that's very good. We've done some research. So yes, they do come from China. Guess what? We
Because
have
lots of buyers
over
looking for
1,000
nice
offices in China.
Wow.
So just, you know, if that gives you an idea of what kind of exposure. you
I
have.
also
that's great.
negotiate the
And
highest
number
possible.
three is, I will
This is
negotiate
something
the
that
best price for you.
Okay.
And that is basically what's going on. The process, you're gonna get multiple consulting offers.
Right.
And at that point, somebody on your side who's gonna be able to go through all these offers, contracts, make sure that you get the best terms, best price.
Right.
And what
And then
the
finally,
goal
I
is
oversee
not
all
to
the
just
details.
start the process, but we wanna make sure that we open up.
We said that selling your home is kind of a big deal, right?
Which means it's.
It is a big deal. It's also a thousand something that
Everything
I
is
handle
negotiated
those.
well enough, and that we know exactly.
Statistics show.
No, you're good. And see, again, they don't know. We're trying to keep it clean and concise, but if you're doing more of your presentation, this may be where they're like,
Totally take that off of your.
sounds like you covered every aspect
I
of what
want
it
it to
takes
be
to
as
sell a home.
easy as.
See what I mean? So you're good. So don't worry about saying too much.
That sound good?
The practice and see it on video, make sure it sounds succinct and you're explaining things enough where you feel good about moving to the next one.
Twice.
So don't overthink it. I'm sharing it just as an example. And I know typically I'm marketing exposed, that's always my focus. And then even on negotiating best terms, I typically use some examples. So I'll talk about it so they know about it, and then I'm gonna give some
And I just need to
examples. But ideally, they ask me, tell me a little bit about negotiation, that's very
Real
important.
estate.
Or something like that. Okay, so don't overthink what you're doing
We
great.
get it done.
So you're still on the.
Sometimes that's.
So and the fourth thing that I
Okay,
do is
okay, all right.
oversee the
Awesome,
transaction.
so.
Okay.
And what that means is actually, did you know that in a market like this, we sell
About
people
those
to
details
tenants?
and things that I take
Yeah.
on.
And so it's basically really important.
Makes a
as
lot of
somebody on your
sense. for
side,
people to do it.
who is not to be able to
Well, it
know
sounds
how
like
to
you're gonna be
properly,
really busy.
oversee the
I'm gonna
transaction.
be busy, yes.
Everything sounds good.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
anything specific?
Yeah, so the two main parts. So you said tell it twice, and then I'll leave on.
Oh, so, and also, did you know that from the start of this process till we close escrow? we
So,
actually have
so that's my goal as well. I always.
Oh, wow.
Want to have it on your time frame, if that is as soon as possible. We want that to happen. There are things that neither you
Right.
nor I have control over.
Wow.
What do you want?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Not good. So after, at the end of it, if you want to tie it down, right? So you want to get me to commit. So you want to get my feedback, you want to get, what is it that you like about what I shared with you? You get me to start saying, what I really like what you talked about. Then you're also kind of doing a little bit of a temperature gauge, taking a pulse on, whenever we share a good amount of information, and it sounds like they would say telling's repelling. So you don't want to be telling. You need to tie it down. That tie down is, so how do you feel about what I shared with you? Or did you like any of those 4 main pillars that I shared with you? Which one's
Familiar, obviously, the
Right.
MLM.
And see what they say. So try to do a tie down at the end. If you shared it all. I'm impressed, but you want to hear.
So now, Brandon, I would love to actually hear which one of those makes sense to you.
Well, you know what, I get a little concerned on the negotiation aspect, so it sounds like you're a very good negotiator. So yeah, no, I really like what you shared about negotiating. I didn't realize there was more than just taking the top off.
Okay, so negotiation is.
The second thing that I
to
do is
is
in
marketing.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds great.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, if you can go to and sign it, right? If you want to say on a scale 1 to 10, how confident you feel, and you want to go for the most you can. What I would do though is try to get that feedback, right? So let me pause everybody just to make sure. Guys, if you can pause real quick, everybody, real quick. Iris, sorry, Drew, real fast. Just make sure as you go through the 4 pillars at the very end, what do we want to do? After we go through the 4 pillars and we share and we share and we share, how do we want to try to close?
So based on what you've heard, you're ready to sign this up.
Hey, you can go straight to it if that's what you want to do, right? So we want to hear a little bit. So it's called a tie down. And what a tie down is, anytime you share any important information, right? So you're sharing what you do to sell a home. The final thing you want to say is, now share with me, which one of those specifically do you like, right? And then you ask me, tell me a little bit more about that. So if they say they like the market and exposure, right? I really like what you said about market and exposure. When you do the tie down, that's getting them to commit towards you. So we don't just talk. We share with them. And then at the end of that, we want to say, so how do you feel about what I shared with you, right? That's a little temperature gauge question. It's a closing question. It's a soft close that they say, you know what? I'm really impressed with everything that you shared, but I really like what you said about market and exposure. I didn't realize that you had over 1,000 offices in China, right? So you can say something, and then you say, is there anything else that you would be looking for in terms of marketing? Anything else you're familiar with what agents do that sell homes? Tell me a little bit more about that. So now your conversation is focused on marketing, because you know that's important to them. And you know that if you really emphasize that, they're likely going to want to work with you. You see what I'm saying? So everything that we do is very specific, and we want to tie it down. And we want to get them to start committing, not just going straight to, okay, you ready to sign the paperwork? You know what I mean? Because if we did this towards the beginning of our presentation, it's way too early. We still haven't created enough value yet. But it is a strong intro early on that people are just like, okay, you definitely know what you're talking about. I mean, how did it feel so far? Just in your conversations, did it feel okay? Did it feel very awkward? Awkward? Yeah. Do you feel like that you have a little bit more knowledge to share with people early on to establish that credibility? You at least have some kind of idea of how you're going to present to your clients? Does that help at all?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it definitely creates such a great foundation to be able to just kind of
Jump into the
know,
presentation.
okay, this is like, gives you an outline of
Right.
what I'm doing myself.
Okay.
Sets that out.
Good, good.
So what's your tie down? Brandon?
So tie down, so it'll typically, after I give the 4 pillars, right? So consult and advise, market and expose, negotiate the best terms, and oversee the transaction. Then on my oversee the transaction, I always say, did you realize that more than 150 phone calls take place from the very first time we speak to when we successfully close the transaction? Secondly, did you realize that I typically have to sell in this market each home twice, right? And then they'll say, no, I didn't realize I was involved. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you find any benefits to an agent doing those things for you? And they'll say, yes, I really like the consultant advisor. I really like, most of them will say the market and exposure. That's typically the one that they're going to go to. And then once they say, yeah, I like the market and exposure, I like the fact that you have over 1,000 offices in China, that you're in every single continent, that you're getting international exposure, right? You can also say that your house, we always make sure that we get high definition photos by a professional photographer, because we know that buyers, 97% of buyers are searching online. So your house is on display 24/7, right? These are other things that I'll say that they're just like, you know, especially if market and exposure is the most important thing to them. So then I'll say, you know, I'm digging deeper. So I've tied it down. What do you like? They say market and exposure. Then I say, tell me a little bit more about that. Anything else you're looking for in terms of marketing? Anything else that you've seen, right? We had in the first example, I've received postcards. So I think postcards are important to selling homes. Well, actually, and then you'll have it in your C21, it's called Toolkit CMA. If you guys haven't used that, that's the listing presentation that's on 21 online, okay? On there, there's a sheet that shows how many homes are sold on the internet, how many are sold by the yard sale sign, it's like 7% by the for sale sign, right? And it has all those stats broken out. So you can show them print advertisements less than 1 or 2%, right? Those postcards are more for marketing, staying top of mind. Does it actually sell a home? No, right? It doesn't, but the consumer doesn't know that. They think because they receive the postcards, right, that's what sells homes. So most of them know the internet has something to do with it by this point, but you're really going to emphasize that this is why we have our proven system. This is why last year, and these are sound bites you want to write down, Century 21 Everest sold over 7,000 homes last year. Everest, not C21, Century 21 Everest sold 7,000 homes sides last year, okay? We have the proven track record. And that's where John will say, the good news is, how many homes do you have to sell? One, right? So do you feel that we can sell your home? Yes, I do. So I don't just say, so obviously we can sell your home. I ask them, do you feel that we can sell your home? Every time they answer that, they're committing, right? They're moving towards you. So as you get to a strong point, you'll know through practice, then you're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, you ready to get started? Yes, let's go straight to the paperwork. And another thing to know on your listing presentation, you don't always have to go through the entire presentation, right? If you can tell that they're in a good place and they're like, just, you know, let's talk about price and commission, let's get started, right? Like I already know they commit that I'm going to work with you. We just need to make sure price and commission makes sense and get right to it. Sign that paperwork. I've signed listings. I'm sure, Karen, you've done it too in the first 10, 15 minutes. Doesn't always take an hour. It shouldn't take an hour and a half, right? It should not. You should have, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. There's listing presentations that take an hour and a half. I used to joke, my old way of doing it is I talk them to death and finally by the end of it, they're like, all right, let's just sign the paperwork. I just want to shut this guy up. He's not going to get out of here. This guy's going to tell me everything about everything. And I'm just, you know what? I can't go through this again. Let's just sign the paperwork, right? So, I mean, if all else fails, just keep talking to them until they sign the paperwork, right? But in reality, you want to be specific. You want to find out exactly what it is they're looking for. And we do that through the discovery. That's why we do the discovery up front. Okay. Is this kind of making a little bit more sense? Okay. You guys want to practice a little bit more? It's 9:01. So we still got 15 minutes before we start morning ascent. So if you guys want to practice a little bit more, I kind of interrupted what you guys were doing. Did you guys each get a chance to complete it? Do you want to still finish it? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Well, hopefully it helps a little bit, but practice that tie down at the end of it. Okay. I know right now you're thinking of it. If you have to use your notes, use your notes. Okay. Just go ahead and use the notes. Just practice it. Don't worry if you say too much early on. You're just practicing saying it. You just want to make sure you get through those 4 pillars. Okay.
You're not saying anything.
You're not saying too much. That's all right. And remember, they don't know what we're presenting, right? Yeah. So they don't know if you missed one of the pillars. If you say 4 and you only say 3, then they're like, wait a minute, isn't there one more here? I lied to you. There's only 3 pillars, 3 main things that we do. Right?
You mark this thing?
Yeah, that was the 4th one. We market the property, right? So again, they don't know. right? So you can say, these are the top things that we do to successfully sell homes. And then you run through those, okay? So let's keep practicing. Yes,
So
Karen?
Brandon, one of the tips that I've done for new agents is in your listing presentation, you've got it all together, right? You've got either the book or you've got a folder, right? At the end where you have your paperwork, your notepad, your everything, write your pillars down. So that if you have to go back and actually read them to them, they're not gonna know where you had that information at.
That's a good idea.
You have it right there with you so that you don't have to memorize
Yeah.
what it is. Should you memorize it? Absolutely. But when you're first starting out, take a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And just write down everything that you need to say. And then keep it in your notes because you're gonna give them some paperwork and you're gonna keep paperwork,
Right.
right? So just put that part of the paperwork that you take back with you and just have that as a security.
It's great. And yeah, if there's any other things you think of like that, I think that's a great suggestion. There
I
were
always get
people.
calls from the bathroom. That's why I tell you to do that.
So the other thing, so there's the 21 listing questions that is in your script book. Okay, have that with you as well. That's all the listing questions, and you should go through and start memorizing your top 3. Because when you get into that, we talk about what your needs, what your wants, what your expectations are, what your expectations are of the agent that you look to hire, as well as what my expectations are of the sellers to make sure that we get top dollar, right? Because I'll say this in the listing presentation or the listing conversation. I'm interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing me, right? So we got to be careful with our time. I need to make sure that if my sign's out there, that it sells, right? Because what if it just sits for 2-3 months? Does that help my reputation or hurt my reputation? It hurts. Now I look incompetent as a listing agent, right? Especially in this market. So I need to work with somebody who's motivated enough to sell their home, because there are people, and you're seeing listings right now coming up, 150, 200,000 over asking price, very low commission that they're offering. They're just seeing what they can get. They may not be that motivated, right? So we need to also do it. And I'm not afraid to share that in the presentation. I'm like, wow, what do you mean? Like, you may decide not to work with me? Yeah, I may not decide to based on how this conversation goes, right? Because we take pride in terms of what it is that we do. When we take a listing, does it cost us money? A lot of money at times, depending on how much we're doing, right? So I'm not going to take a listing. I mean, in this market, you're taking just about any listing, right? In other markets that shift a little bit and that sit on the market for quite some time, you got a lot more competition. You need to make sure that they're also committed, and it's called future pacing. So we do a lot of future pacing. So why would we talk about it falling out of escrow twice? Does that make us sound very strong?
So when it does, they're kind of prepared for it.
You've already future paced
Like a
it.
shithead.
That's one way to say it, right?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's your future pacing it, right? So now it's not you as an agent screwing up. That's just something that's expected. That's what's happening on a national average. And if you aren't aware, there are a lot of deals. Hey, Lisa, there are a lot of deals that are falling out of escrow. There's quite a few. So go ahead and try to finish it up one more time. Yeah, what's that?
In this market?
Absolutely, in this market, because of the bidding situations, homes are going 100, 150,000 over asking price. It's very easy. It's buyer's remorse. Buyers are feeling they overpaid for it once they finally get their offer accepted. Not every situation, but it's common. So I say that when I'm talking to a listing agent, and I start talking to them about comps, and I start talking to them about, where do you see this going out? Typically, they're not going to tell you. They're just like, this is just a crazy market. And you could say that this is a crazy market. We know people are writing insane, ridiculous offers, right? My promise to you is if you take our offer, that we have the money to overcome any appraisal difference. That's one big promise. What are the 2 main fears a seller has in terms of a home falling out of escrow?
It won't sell.
Appraisal.
Loan and
And
inspection.
they'll
Appraisal.
take a lower price.
So appraisal and inspection are the 2 things, okay? Those are the 2 biggest fears of any seller that knows why homes are falling out of escrow. It's to overcome appraisal, and then it's the inspections, the request for repairs. Those are their big fears. So when you present your offer, if you're overcoming those 2 main hurdles, you're solving a lot of what, when we talk about objection handlers, their hesitation to moving forward with you. That's how you overcome it. It's their appraisal, and it's the request for repairs. Okay. So you're not just writing a high offer, and then what do some people do? Ask for crazy credit. Exactly. So they're like, all right, let's just do whatever it takes. So they take our offer. Then once we're in, now it's just us and them. Now we're gonna ask for a new roof, right? Or we're gonna ask for this and that. And don't worry, we're gonna really sweeten the deal up. I'm a great negotiator. Don't set those kind of expectations for your clients. You're setting yourself up for disaster in this market because you think most sellers are gonna fix anything or do a whole lot.
No.
Doesn't mean that they won't. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they'll give you a little credit, right? Sometimes you may, but in this market, if you're getting a $1,500 credit, you're doing really well, right? But I set that expectation with my clients, both sellers and buyers, right? We have to do that a lot, especially on the buying side right now, not just to get offers accepted, but to keep them from falling out because it's an overwhelming process. Who here is not nervous about buying an $800,000 property for an entry-level home in Camarillo, right? Maybe 15 to 1,700 square feet, 800,000 Central Camarillo right now. It's a lot of money. It's a big mortgage, right? Regardless of how much money you put down, your minimum, you're at 3,000 to likely 4,000 up on your mortgage. Rates are going up right now. So does that put a little bit of pressure on the situation? Homes built in the 1960s, even if it looks completely remodeled, it's probably issues, probably things you're going to find on that home inspection, right? So we have to set these expectations. So the video that I sent yesterday, if anybody hasn't got it, we'll share it. The one we did yesterday, we talked more on the buying side, but it's relevant just for the sellers as well. So check that out, watch it, and practice that. Practice explaining that. Get your role play partner if you guys haven't gotten one yet. Get at least, this is a perfect environment right here. Exchange. You should each be exchanging with at least 2 different people in this room. And then you should practice minimum once a week, but you should be doing this every day. So if you can do it 2-3 times a week, just it's easy. It's 15-20 minutes. Just call one of your role play partners up, pick a time in the morning that works for everybody. Or if it's got to be later, some people do it later on as well. Just call them and just say, hey, you know what, real quick, before I get on calls today, let's just practice this. Ring, ring, and we jump right into it, okay? Jump right into, you can do the pillars. You can do a just listed, just sold is a good script. Pre-qual script, those are the first ones I would start with, okay? So just listed script, if you guys haven't already memorized that one, the pre-qual script, there's actually 2 of them in the Mike Ferry. I think in this one, there's at least one. One pre-qual script is strictly for listings. The second one is for FSBOs. So I don't know if the second one's on here. And if not, you can always pull it from MikeFerry.com. If you guys didn't know, all the scripts are available on MikeFerry.com as well. Okay. So, and they're all very similar to these. Ours is different on the listing presentation. Mike Ferry's style is a little bit different. Ours is a lot more conversational. Okay. Any other questions before doing it one more time? We're already almost at, time for morning ascent, unless you guys just want to jump in. Do you want to finish it? Because I know you guys, I interrupted your guys' start. Go ahead. Do you want to do it in front of everybody? All right. I'll do one last type just so you guys get different versions to practice. Okay. Because you already got the 4 pillars. So another thing that we can do, we got a few. So we actually practiced this in Utah. This is what the managers out there were doing with their agents. One is rapid fire on objection handling. So the managers will pick each agent and just hit you with an objection, and then you respond to that objection. Okay. So it can be pretty intense, but the good thing about that is usually when you get hit with an objection, you're not expecting it. Typically you're not, or you're going for the close, right? And you're asking questions like, you ready to get started? And they're like, well, we need the night to think about it. Okay. So I can start with you on that real quick. So you did an awesome presentation, right? And now you're asking me a closing question. So go ahead and just say any closing question, anything that you want. And the simplest one is, so how do you feel about what I shared with you today?
Okay, so Brandon, how do you feel about what I shared with you today?
You know what? Awesome presentation. You're obviously very good at what you do. You come highly recommended. But my wife and I just need the night to think about it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you need to speak with your wife and then you guys to talk overnight to think about the process. Okay, well, I appreciate that, Brandon. But so here's what we can do. How about if we signed up? I'm already here. So what we can do is we can go ahead and sign the paperwork. And what I'll do is tomorrow we can speak with your wife tonight.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I'll give you a call. And if you decide that at that point there is, this isn't going to be something you want, I can just rip up the paperwork.
That sounds great. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good idea. Yeah,
that's
that'll,
fine.
so you'll confirm though first thing in the morning before
will.
submitting anything?
Yes, I will call you.
Perfect.
at
Yeah,
9 o'clock
let's
in the
just do that.
morning.
Because we feel really good. So that's
Okay.
great. So another way of doing it. So awesome job. We should all be clapping. for that. Right on the spot with it. So the other thing we can do is we can do it where you can't say the same answer and you keep going until it's exhausted. So now you're seeing every way to handle that one objection. So the objection, so we're practicing some role playing. I don't know if you're ready for it yet, right? Okay. So the objection we're saying is she gave a great listing presentation. She's asking, are you ready to take care of some paperwork? And then I responded, which is very common, you know what, this is a very big decision. So my wife and I need the night to think about it. And we're gonna sleep on it, and then, we'll talk to you in the morning. And then that was her response, which was a phenomenal response. That's one of the best ones that you can. And if you look at what she did right, she repeated and affirmed. She didn't just jump right into her answer. She listened to what I said. She didn't make me wrong. You notice that? And also listen to her tone. Did she sound defensive or aggressive? Sounded very confident, right? Sounded like you practice it. You want to keep practicing that. You handle those objections. Again, the best news about objections, before any major decision, people are typically thinking why they don't want to commit or why they don't want to move forward, right? So before any major decision, that's natural. That's a natural part of the process. But if you overcome it, you're signing the paperwork, because that's their only hesitation, is they need the night to think about it. Okay. So do you want to try one? Same thing. Let's just do rapid fire. So same thing. And then just try to come up. You already know which objection I'm going to hit you with. The other one is I hit just different objections. I can hit you on commission. Then I can hit you on a price reduction objection, right? And I can just keep firing. You don't know what you're going to get. You just got to think on the spot. The whole purpose of this is to train under pressure and to know it's not even to be honest, the words of what you're saying. We repeat and affirm. We show them that we're listening first. That gives us time to think of our answer as well. Okay. And then when we repeat and affirm, we're lowering that guard because they think that you're going to be like, really? You're not ready to commit, or it's going to become some type of an argument. But when you don't do that, you lower that wall that's going up and you're lowering it. And then now you're responding in a way that's ideally leading them. And usually I'm going to do it through leading questions. Okay. So you can ask questions. You don't always have to just have an answer. You can share with them, okay, well, obviously this is an important decision, right? And you can go that route. Does that make sense? You want to try it?
Sure.
Okay. So you just did your presentation. You're going for the close now.
Okay. So Brandon, how do you feel about everything I've shared with you?
Awesome job. That was much more information than I was expecting to get at this presentation. I'm very impressed.
Awesome, thank you, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
So our last step is just to take care of the paperwork. Before we take care of the paperwork, do you have any more questions?
Well, actually, we need the night to think about. The other one is I have to interview a couple other agents, or I have family member that's in the business that I promised that I'd give them a chance, right? So these are other objections. I'm just giving you to practice for when you're with your role play partner. So sorry, getting back to what you said, any other questions? No, we just need the night to think about it.
You need the night to think about it?
Yep.
Brandon, I completely understand this is such a big decision.
Right.
But I mean, share with me, what concerns do you still have that's, causing you to kind of hold off on signing the paperwork?
No real concerns. To be honest, my wife and I, just before every major decision, we're very strong believers in God, and we just like to pray on it and just make sure that this is what we're supposed to do right.
Okay, so you just want to pray about it, make sure everything feels good, and if everything feels good in the morning, we'll be ready to move forward.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, Brandon, okay, so I don't know if I should even say, because I typically would kind of use that right away too. Like,
Go ahead.
I
Just go with
completely
what-
understand the way you feel. I would honestly feel the same way too.
Right.
But how about we take care of the paperwork? You guys can have the night to think about it. I can call you tomorrow around noon, let's say.
Uh-huh.
And if you tell me, everything sounds good, we'll move forward. If not, I'll just rip up the contract and, no commitments at all. Does
Okay.
that sound good?
Yeah, sure. No, we really like you. Let's take care of the paperwork.
Okay.
Great. Awesome. And then also when we're practicing with each other, good job. When we're practicing with each other, we're trying to help them see a successful close. Okay. This isn't about hitting them with objection after objection after objection, regardless of what we're experiencing. We want to practice success, okay? And visualize success when we're having our responses. Because don't be surprised if you get that objection and they seriously respond once they know that you've listened to it. They're like, yeah, let's take care of this. Others are going to say, no, you're being a little too pushy right now, or they may think you're being too pushy. They may feel that. And if you feel that wall up, don't lose the transaction over it, right? One other thing that George taught me early on that is very powerful is persuasion is very long lasting. Manipulation, that's buyer's remorse. That's when people feel buyer's remorse, right? That's pretty quick. It doesn't last very long. For persuasion, when you're really good and you gave an excellent presentation, be confident. Compete against 5, 7 other agents. Leave it out there. Know that you're good. And that was one of the strongest one. When I realized all this works, I had one and I was up against 2 people, and you may have shared me or heard this story. One was a pastor. The other was another top agent in the area. He's like, nope, we have to interview 3 agents. I've been talking to one for over a year. He's my pastor. And in my head, I'm like, great, I'm not over here. Right? It's like, there's no way. There's no way. But luckily, I was the first one in. And I was very persuasive. I asked a lot of questions. He didn't even interview the other 2. He just needed to buy time because he didn't want to commit right then and there. And in reality, I wasn't even prepared. Wasn't prepared because he called me and he lived in my neighborhood, right? So I went straight to his house. I had no preparation. He was just like, hey, can you come check out my house? They say that, come to their house. You don't need anything, right? They're not going to hit you on the spot where you think, oh my gosh, I don't know the answer. As long as you practice. If you practice, you know what to say. Well, I need to go back, do a little bit of research, right? Now that I've seen inside your house, now I can give you a more accurate estimate of what your home is worth. It's not just you're supposed to know everything just because you showed up and now all of a sudden you know the perfect price, and they'll ask you, what do you think we can get for this? Say, you know what? I know that in this market right now, you're going to do really well. You said you bought it when? You know, what's your payoff on this? So I'm getting information. I'm not just answering, I'm getting information. Okay, well, let's set up a time. And my second appointment with them was on Thursday. It was a Tuesday when I met with them. I didn't want a lot of time in between. They're going to interview these other 2 agents. They're going to be back to back on Wednesday, right? And I knew I wanted to close that gap because even though everything felt great on that Tuesday, if I give too much time in between, now they both have time to talk to as many people as they need to talk to. And as good as it felt, somebody else is stronger and closes them, I lose the listing. And that's happened before. Why I thought I knocked it out of the park. I brought my little kids. I brought the whole family. I was like, there's no way they're going to let me not get this listing. Now they've already met the 2 little adorable, children here that are going to be starving if they don't hire me on this transaction. Right?
Oh, I need to adopt some kids then.
I rent mine out. So yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah. All right, let's do at least one more. I know we're actually into the time of the morning set, but is this helpful? You guys
Yeah.
finding value in this? Okay, definitely want to practice. Iris, you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so you just wrapped up your presentation, so you're closing. You did the 4 pillars beautifully, and I'm just in awe right now in terms of how well you're articulating and presenting what you do to sell a home. Okay.
Okay. So, Brandon, how do you feel about what I just shared with you?
You know what, Iris, I have to admit, that was phenomenal. Very impressive. You're really good at what you do, obviously, and you definitely know your job. So I can't say, that you could have explained it any better. So that was phenomenal.
Great, Brandon. I do appreciate you saying that. With that being said, is there any additional questions that you have for me before we keep moving forward?
You know what? We're just not ready to list it tonight. My wife and I need some time to discuss this before any important decision. We just always like to sleep on it. So, if we could call you in the morning, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, I totally understand you, Brandon. I mean, you need to think about it. I know I understand this is a big transaction, probably the biggest one of your whole life.
It is.
And I totally understand you wanting to share it out with your wife, and I totally respect that. But why don't we do this, Brandon? What if I leave the paperwork here?
Okay.
And while you talk to your wife tonight and you guys go over, once you guys get to that point that you guys are ready to sign, you just sign. I'll call you tomorrow morning and I can pick up the paperwork.
Yeah, that'd be perfect,
That's
actually.
perfect.
That'd be great.
Awesome. So if you don't have any additional questions, I'll leave the paperwork here already highlighted what you and your wife need to sign.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you a call in the morning and I'll stop by and get the paperwork.
Beautiful.
And when I come back, just make sure you have a extra set of keys ready for me, so that way I can start planning on where am I gonna put the sign and everything. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Awesome, Brandon. So it was nice to see you, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Beautiful. Nice job. That is similar to how I've handled that question in the past too. So other things you can do, just to throw some other things out there, Karen, feel free on that question when you've had it. I'll ask them, and you hit on it. You said this is the most important investment that you have. This is a big decision. So I'll say, if they need time to think about it, or they need to interview other agents, I will first acknowledge and say, you know what, you're right. This is a very important decision. Let me ask you, is this the biggest investment? Is this the largest investment that you have? They say, yes, it is. And say, so from that, that's what I'm going to close. This was somebody hit me on a commission and I asked them that question, but you can do the same thing with needing the night to think about it. So I'll start with that. And then I'll say, well, just share with me. Because typically what I found in my experience, that there's usually something that I haven't answered yet. So, 3 heads are sometimes better than just, the two of you talking about this. Is there anything else while I'm here that I can help answer in terms of a hesitation of starting the process tonight? And so I'm asking a little bit more. I'm still trying to isolate the objection. But if they tell me, no, everything was great, it was all phenomenal, and they get to the point of even saying, we are going to work with you. And they will say that. They'll say, you know what, I'm very impressed. We're going to work with you, Iris. We just need the night to think about it. Then I'll say the same thing here. Well, if it's okay, so you're asking for permission, I'm going to leave my paperwork here. I'll leave it with you. Feel free to check it out. If there's any other questions, you can even call me tonight. And we do want to start this ASAP because we got to get the photographer. I need to start exposing it. We need to take advantage of this hot market before Neighbor, because I've seen that happen too. Neighbor comes on the market, they underprice it because maybe they're not getting the best advice from their agent, and then that impacts us on the sale of our home. Right? I've seen that happen, and that has happened. The next day, a house comes on 20,000 under, that's a model match, right? Now that potentially can cost us, and it did in that one. They lost at least $5,000 to $10,000 based on hesitating the one day because they needed to interview 2 other agents because he said, I'm sure somebody will do it for 4%. That's what he said. I said, oh yeah, most definitely you'll get somebody for 4. I said, you'll probably get somebody for 3.5. I can give you the number, right? And he was just like, I said, and then I asked the question, is this the most important investment that you have? I said, yeah. Do you feel that I can get your home sold? Oh, absolutely. You sound like a rock star. You sound like you can definitely do it. So I said, so for 0.5%, and I did the math, it was a $400,000 listing. I said, for $2,000, you want to take a chance with somebody who has to cut their commissions to try to earn your business? I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm going to leave this here. I work with people who want to commit to working with me. So please let me know at your earliest convenience so that we can get things rolling, right? And I left the paperwork there. The next day I got the text. My wife and I spoke. We're not interviewing anybody else. We want to work with you. We want to work with you in Century 21 was his exact words on the text. Driving back from my daughter's all-star game, just like, yes, we go over there, see the text. I shouldn't have been looking, while driving. Sometimes you got to do it, right? So you got to do it, but it's a pretty awesome feeling. Be confident with it. Do it. Don't be obnoxious by any means. Be caring and empathetic to what they're doing, but be confident and say it. And sometimes asking, are there any other questions? That's okay, but try to isolate the objection a little bit more. If it's too open-ended, just say any questions. It's just like an open house. Has anybody tried it at an open house where they come in and you say, do you have any questions? What do they say?
No, leave me alone.
So we got to be a little more specific, right? To get them to engage. What brings you here today? What brings you into this open house today, right? And then I tell or I share, I like to give before I get, right? So I'll point out features, not obvious, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but you know what? There's a tankless water heater in the garage. I'm going to talk about there's solar or not solar, right? There's certain things they can't see, and I'll give them a quick overview. This is 3,200 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. The downstairs bathroom's been updated back in 2010. Kitchen's been remodeled, so I'll point some things. Let me ask you, what brings you in here today? Or what are you looking for in a home, right? And so I'm walking them through and kind of giving them a tour, and then I'm asking them those questions. They start sharing. And when they talk, we shut up, right? We listen, and we get them to tell and be really good listeners. And the more that you do, that connection starts happening. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to connect. To be honest, for me, I'm trying to have one connection at an open house. If I have one connection, it's worth my time. Other people are there, oh, let me get your name and number. There was one story, one quick example, where this agent was literally on her couch, like feet up, yelling across the open house, make sure you sign in, right? It was my clients who were in the open house telling me the story. Then they said the boyfriend or whoever it was just finished smoking a doobie or something outside. You can smell it. And he's just like passed out on the couch. This is during an open house, right? And then when we met the owners of the house, you can guess, this is in this market, not too long ago, less than 6 months ago. The house had horrible photos. It was already priced well at 800. They had to drop it down to 780. And then we got it at like 782. We barely got it over in this market less than 6 months ago. I'm not joking. This is a real story. And it was bad, bad representation all around. And then when we came in and did the home inspection, right out the gate, she starts off with, oh, we're not doing anything. He's fixed everything great. We're not fixing anything. We're not doing anything. This is our home inspection. If I have new buyers, that would have spooked them, right? And we still got them to fix things, just to be clear about it, right? But she tried to lay it down right out the gate. This is how you don't act in a situation, right? You let people feel comfortable. You let them do their due diligence. Let them inspect the property. You got to deal with repairs, deal with repairs. You don't do that in front of clients, right? So there's certain etiquette and certain things, but we have some interesting people out there that we're competing against, okay? All right,
So you think smoking a doobie before you open up is not a good idea?
Scratch that one off the list.
What the hell have I been doing wrong?
That's why
Damn,
Lions
Gary,
open
I never say this.
Just scratch.
That was a trade secret.
Now a cigarette.
I'm going to edibles. I'm going to edibles. I'm gonna quit smoking that doobie.
Whatever you got to do, just, connect with people, relax, right? All right. No, nice job, everybody. I hope that was good. And we're going to keep doing this every Tuesday. Okay. We'll do that role play to start with. So we're starting role play at 8:30. So you're welcome to come join. And it's just, we're all learning and having fun. It's a good, safe environment. Yes, this is being recorded. We're not going to blast it out to the whole public out there, but we'll keep that for training for us too. Okay. So if you want to go back and look at it, you can. All right, so that's it for this. Let's start the morning ascent. We're a little bit later into it. Does everybody have their script book? Let's see if I can get mine.
Anybody need copies?
Yeah,
I
grab
just
a
ran-
couple.
She just ran to her.
I'll take some.
Okay, so we only. Okay, so we're gonna. We only have less than 30 minutes for the total morning ascent. So we'll start with this. We'll get with. Have you done this before? I'm trying to remember. Making sure. All right, cool. All right, you guys ready? So we'll start with the self-confidence formula. Got a little bit of some rock jams going on in here. So we try to say it loud and fast, okay? We'll try to say it in harmony here. Ready? First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I'll devote 10 minutes daily to demanding myself the development of self-confidence. 4, I've clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I'll never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. 5th, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I'll engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I'll succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I'll induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I'll eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing a love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I'll believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I'll become a self-reliant and successful person. Hoorah. All right. This is a 12-step formula with minimum standards which, when followed with exactness and a positive environment, ensures 24 plus transactions annually, and unprecedented personal growth and achievement. 1, I dedicate 1 hour daily towards building and protecting my self-confidence. 2, I practice and internalize my sales skills for a minimum of 1 hour each day. 3, I contact my sphere of influence by mail, by phone, and or in person, and by email quarterly. 4, I make 150 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day by phone or in person. 5, I follow up with all my qualified leads daily. 6, I set 5 plus new appointments per week with buyers or sellers. 7, I completely pre-qualify 100% of my appointments. 8, I have an appointments attended to listings taken ratio of at least 75% or greater. 9, I call all my sellers weekly and reduce all listings every 3 weeks, a minimum of 5%. 10, I tell 75% or more of my 11, I return every signed call and contact every buyer lead within 2 hours of import. 12, I only work with highly qualified buyers that are pre-qualified by a mortgage lender and have signed a buyer broker agreement. Earn more commissions in less time with less energy spent. I recognize success comes from consistent action resulting in predictable outcomes. Therefore, I commit to following every step of the 12 steps to the summit of success. All right, opening affirmations. I'm a professional salesperson who gets on sold. I use information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my listings right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in any market. My abilities make me succeed. I get strong with every step. I'm the master of every situation. My confidence is unshakable because I live with integrity. I always have productive thoughts. Attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me unlimited financial success. I think prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I handle my money wisely and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I'm eager to start each day. I enjoy being debt free. I'm a real estate expert. My SOI expects me to be their real estate expert. I'm a professional. I am financially independent. I earn commissions with ease helping others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call expires and for sale by owners. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy following up with my SOI. People are attracted to my enthusiasm. I use technology to succeed. I get mentally stronger with every call I make. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a powerful agent. I know how to succeed. I keep positive, exciting, fun, productive thoughts in my mind at all times. Yes. All right. Good job. Good morning. All right, so let's take 5 minutes, right? We'll just do 5 gratitudes and 5 goals. Top 5 gratitudes, top 5 goals. All right, everybody doing pretty good? Hopefully we're with at least 5 and 5. Does anybody want to share gratitude before we get started? Yes,
Last night.
fell asleep at 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was right about that same time. Listening to? Yeah. Netflix had me going a little bit too late last night. I was like, oh, it's not going to be good this morning. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you fell asleep. So that's great. Any other gratitudes? All right.
I'm glad my brother-
Yes.
Oh, I just want to say, I'm grateful for John Syatt, George Morris, with all the support they give us and all the tools they give us. And how much they care about each and every one of us.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm
And
grateful for Judy to have me in his house next week.
There you
Nice.
go.
You going?
And I'm grateful for my brother to listen to me yesterday when I was talking about buying a home in this one.
Good.
Our investment property.
That's good. Drew. Yes.
I just got a text from buyers who just closed on a home out in Camarillo Springs. And they're on their way in from Bakersfield. They invited me over today to see the remodel work that's going on. and stuff.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's always good. And if you're ever prospecting and feeling like you're either getting hit too hard with, people hanging up or just not being very cooperative, always go back to your sphere. Or people that you know, people that you care about. When we do prospecting squad, I don't know if you've ever heard my very first phone calls, always to my wife. And I'm calling I'm checking to make sure the headset sounds okay. And she's like, no, I can tell you're on a headset, right? But I'm making sure that that's working. But it just puts me in a good state. Just talking to somebody you care about, talking to somebody who you've helped put into a home. That's the best pick me up you can get. You know what I mean? To also remind you that this is why you're doing it. And then that's why you deal with all the tough conversations. You always want to be recentered with that. So that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Cool. Before we get going, we don't have a whole lot of time. Any specific topic that would be helpful? I mean, we've been doing a lot of the listing presentation. Yesterday, we did the buyer presentation. Again, I'll share that video to anybody. We did that for about an hour, almost hour 20, hour 30 minutes at the Oxnard office. So I'll share that with anybody that wants to see it. Any questions, I guess, from anybody that was a part of that they'd like a little bit more? We got about 15 minutes that I can jump into any topic. So I can just jump into anything, or if you guys have something specific.
I'd like to know how you deal with commission questions.
Commission, okay, so commission objection or questions. Okay, that's a good one. Any other ideas? I'll throw a few out there, and this could be for future trainings as well. Anything else? I guess with you just starting out so far, right? Being our newest, what would be most helpful to you, just in terms of with this whole process? What do you find as being the biggest challenge, or challenges?
Getting, I guess, the spiel down as far as the listing presentation.
Okay.
I guess practicing that, and then just learning today, listening to you guys, listening to the objections. I go, wow, that's because that was a good example you used as far as, you know, my objection when I was selling my house, when the real estate agent came to our house, is let me think about it.
Right.
You know, same thing. She did the exact same thing. She said, you know what? I just leave the paperwork with you, and you and your wife can think about it. Then we went with her too.
Right.
You know, we went, it worked, you know, so
It's a
it was
great
good
way to
example.
handle. It is a great one. So objection handlers, the listing presentation, okay? These are all things that we're gonna do on a continual basis. So the nice thing about the objection handlers is they haven't changed last 40+ years. They're the same ones. So once you understand the core objections, you know how to handle those, just at least to the point where you're not putting them on defense, you're in really good shape. So listing presentation, any other things that would be helpful?
So if you do an open house to get those people into your database, but what if they already have an agent? So how
Okay.
do you work on that situation?
So you said SOI and then working in open house.
When you do an open house.
Okay.
So you take people like everyone's lead or whoever is wants, but whoever you connect with, but then they say that they already have an agent.
Right.
How would you work in this situation? I know I tried to ask them to sign an agreement. They said no,
Right.
but that's the end.
Okay. Yeah. So open house, I'll touch on that. So already you have an agent, that's another objection, right? Or that could be a condition. So there's also a difference between an objection and a condition. The condition has to happen. It's an event that has to happen, or if they have an agreement with an agent. But there is something that's a good question. So already have an agent. Okay. We got to talk on an ethics level, what you're supposed to say and do. Then we're also going to talk about in reality, not saying that you're not going to be ethical, but how to handle that so that they at least keep you in mind, okay, in case it doesn't work out with that person. Any other questions or situations? Anything you got, Lisa? Hit all of them already?
Mhm.
Everything that would be good? Okay, so listing and open house. Those are both two key areas. And I know for myself starting out, open houses were big. They were really important to building our business. And I would work every open house that I could work, as many as I could. And then you also want to do a great job for the listing agent that's allowing you, if you don't have your own listings yet, to do it and follow up with them and do the most professional job that you can and give them feedback. Track how many people are coming in, track how many have agents, ask for business cards, handle it as if it was your own listing, and then give that feedback, and you'll create these relationships with agents that aren't going to ask the whole company. They'll ask you specifically in the future. And this is a great office here that has great agents who do a good amount of listings as well. So you develop those relationships, they'll call you directly and just say, hey, are you available this weekend? I want to give you the first crack at it, right? So it's something very important. So open houses are big. Yes.
One of the big, real important things that you guys have to do is have relationships with each other. Because when you bring an offer to somebody else at a different company and they know how you work and you know how they work, your offer is going to get accepted over all the other 5. That's such an important thing to do. The way you do that is through Caravan, through association, events, networking. You need to get out there and get to meet some big agents from other companies.
It's
They
great
will
advice.
move you.
Yep. Great advice. Things I wish I would have known very early on in the career. It's so much of it is the relationships and the people, you know, especially in these multiple offer situations. So Caravan is big, learning inventory. There's two main things that you're doing here. If you were a store, somebody gave me the analogy. If you had a store and you have nothing to sell, right? Nothing in the store, nobody's going to come into the store to purchase anything or do it. So what is our inventory, so to speak? It sounds, you know, some of it sounds kind of bad, but you have two different types of inventory that you're actually trying to put together, that you're trying to build to make sure that you have business. What are the two types?
Homes.
One is listings, homes, right? But it doesn't even have to be your homes. It could be other people's homes. You just have to know about it. There's not a lot on the market, so you should know the different price points and what's out there. Stay on top of what's out there. But don't do that as that's the only thing you do all day is you're just searching on the MLS to know what's out there either, okay? So you have to have, okay, these are the days that I'm gonna check. Some do it, some people do it every single morning. That's their habit. I can honestly tell you that I don't, and this isn't, I'm not trying to brag about it, but I don't look at the MLS until it's time to do it. I set people up on auto searches. I don't even see the emails as they come in anymore. Before I used to be like, oh, I have to see every single listing. I gotta know. You should go to Caravan and you should see inside the properties. You need to know the neighborhoods. If you're working Camarillo, you need to know the different tracks, right? If you're working Oxnard, Ventura, Thousand Oaks, know the different neighborhoods, get familiar with the different tracks. Understand what neighborhood is what and at what price points. Become that neighborhood expert. That's key, okay? So, but learn inventory, and especially as a newer agent, you should be trying to go in 5 to 10 every single week so that you really start understanding the market. Know what's out there, how they're going, talk to the agents, find out what's happening, right?
Something to add to that as well. When you're going on Caravan, take a sheet with you and see if that agent has priced the property correctly. When you get back to the office, do a CMA, see if they've done it correctly and see if that price point is where it should be.
Right,
And then remind yourself of something that was there. There was a cat there, or there was a person there that, you know, you got to meet or whatever, so that you can reiterate to your buyer when it's time, all 5 of the properties that you just showed. And
That's
if you're in there before that, you can reiterate to them what they've seen on the pictures and whether they're going to see it or not. It will save you a lot of time.
it's good. That's really good. Another quick tool, if you don't all have it on your phone, RPR. Download the RPR app. If you don't have that, it's a big advantage to have that, okay? This isn't to replace your CMA. You still want to learn how to run searches and comps yourself. Typically, when I'm taking a listing or I know a listing's coming up, I'm going to check with a title rep and, you know, and find out, reach out to Tom and ask him, hey, I got this address coming up. Can you send me a full property detail report, right? There's different types of reports, but one with comps. So I'm going to get comps from him. Does anybody know why it's important for me to get comps from Tom?
Because the properties might have sold off.
Come up with stuff that
Yep.
wasn't in the MLS.
Exactly. So some properties sell off market that Tom will have access to. So it's another checks and balance. You need to always know what is the highest sale in the neighborhood. You always have to know the most recent highest sale in the neighborhood, especially if it's a model match. Because if you don't know it and you show up to that listing presentation, you're not going to get that listing, or it's going to be very hard to overcome that. I should say that.
CMA only shows you properties that were listed and sold to the MLS.
Right.
We're pulling our records from the county recorder's office, so if somebody did it for sale by owner,
Yep.
or if it was done through Purple Bricks, or a different company, Open Door, or something where it was done outside of the MLS, we'll have those comps available that the MLS may not. Doesn't happen that often, but
But it
but
does.
it does.
And it can happen. There's 3 layers. Okay, so that's one. That's all right. 3 layers. That's one layer. So Tom will be the first person I call. He'll send that property profile with comps. Okay, and then sometimes he'll ask, you know, what radius do you want or something of that, or last 6 months. Second thing is going to be RPR for me. I use that as a tool. That'll give me a quick estimate and a range, and I can look at comps there. And then without cheating, like I'll have that just aside. Then I'm going to run a search, and I do a quick search. And if anybody's done it yet, there's the little thumbtack on that bottom right corner. Okay, click on that thumbtack, then you type the address in. When you put the address in, then you can either draw, you know, like a block around it or a shape, or you do a radius search that way. Okay, but if you do map search is different than the quick search. You got to go to quick search, Go to that little thumbtack. You'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's your MLS search. That's what Karen's been teaching in terms of how do you run your comps on properties, on specific properties. That probably, don't want to put a hierarchy on it, but to me, that is the most important one, as well as with Tom's report, okay? Because those are going to be the two that I'm going to make sure I have everything. And remember, the more information you put in there, the less likely you're going to find all the comps. So you want to keep it a little broad. Some people will put the track code in there. Not every agent knows every track code. So I've had agents get upset that they lost a listing in competition because they put the track code in and they didn't get every single comp that showed up in that radius. Because you have out of area agents that don't know the tracks. So you don't want to miss an important sale. That could be a big difference in terms of the value of the home. That makes sense?
So something to
Yeah.
add to that too,
Uh-huh.
there's sub areas. So in the subdivision, if you click on that and you click all of them, ours are at the very bottom. If you scroll all the way down and it starts with a V and ours starts with 25 or 35 or 45. So whether it's in Ventura, Camarillo or Oxnard.
Right.
So you always want to check that sub area to make sure that you have everything from 5 miles, 5 square miles, so that you're not missing anything.
Right. That's good. So again, start a little bit bigger, and then you want to try to get, and we'll talk about it in the listing presentation when we're talking specifically about how you price a property in the CMA and what sales you're actually pulling. Because you can have too much on there too, and then it takes away from what you're trying to do. So you want to keep it very specific with the top sales, top sold, whatever is going to help you give you the most accurate value and estimate. Okay, so we'll get into that. So real quick, just on the questions, because I know we're running out of time. And Drew, you talked about the open house if they already have an agent. Okay, first thing to say, if they say I already have an agent, you say I respect your loyalty and your relationship there. You know, if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, please keep me in mind as a second opinion or a backup. Okay, that's probably the best way to handle it, where you're respecting their relationship and you keep it there. Now, when you ask the question, are you already working with another agent? What does that mean? Working with another agent. Does that mean that that agent's actually showing you property? Does that mean that agent has a buyer broker agreement with you? Does that mean you've written offers with them? Does it mean that they've just been on your website? It's too vague of a question. And just like if you walk into a store and you say, the gal asks you, is there anything I can help you with? What is your automatic response? No, I'm just looking. Who goes into a store to just look, right? We're all looking to buy something, but we don't want that. It's the same thing if you walk into an open house, and if your very first question as an agent is, are you working with another agent? What are they going to say? Yes, I am. Stay away from me, right? That's their response. So if you're following up, and now they're like, oh my gosh, he actually did his job and he followed up with me. I wrote my number on here. I didn't think he'd call me up. And then you ask them that question, it's automatic wall. So start asking questions first. You can tell based on what they're sharing with you if they're likely working with another agent. And you'll be able to tell more the more experience that you have. And if you get to that where you can tell, yes, we've already written offers, and you say, okay, it sounds like you're working with another agent. I want to respect that, right? Please keep me in mind if for whatever reason it doesn't work. Then they may say, well, we're not committed to that agent. They've shown us property, but they must not be good because we've gotten 10 rejections, right? Which everybody's getting 10 rejections right now, okay? So if they change it with that, then you can try to coach them and saying, okay, well, it sounds like you've been working with somebody for some time. At least have a conversation with them and share with them what you're frustrated about. And if you can send them something in writing, you know what I mean, an email saying, hey, we're no longer working together, then that will keep it cleaner if we work together and move forward. Does that make sense? Try to coach them through that process. Does that help you with your question? Okay. We're just about wrapping up. Any other things? Because most of these topics we're going to talk about, I'm going to send a video. I don't know if I have your email address yet. Anybody else who wants it, I'll send the buyer presentation. I've tried to send the listing presentation of what we've done in the past. Definitely practice it, ask questions, but we've done some pretty detailed trainings on it. So as well as John Syatt did it. I don't know if were you able to make that with John Syatt when he did it last, I think, or a couple weeks ago. He did the listing presentation as well. I haven't seen the Zoom link for that, but there should be a link for that somewhere as well. Does anybody have that one? John Sides?
No, one of the BCC.
Yeah, the one he did at BCCAR. Okay. Any other final questions or things I can help with beforehand? And if not, you know, we'll do it on another training here. Okay. Cool. Yeah, objection handling, we're gonna practice that on our role plays too. So 8:30, we start a role plays for next Tuesday. Yep, 8:30, and then 9:15, we'll start the morning ascent. And in the future, and just so you all know, if you are available, you're all welcome to come to Oxnard as well. Mondays at 9 a.m. So from 9 to 10, if you are available, we're doing a training there. It'll probably be about an hour to an hour and a half trainings there. And it's always going to be listing presentation, buyer presentation, something real estate skill specific. Anything that helps you make more money. That's what we're working on. Okay, anything that helps you put the business together. Sound good? Cool. All right, let's wrap it up with the closing affirmations. So it's just the last part here. You guys ready to go? Okay. I succeed because I act on my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know what is important to me. I remember people's names. I have a daily plan and I follow it. I'm passionate about real estate. I know consistency is my greatest tool. I like asking questions and listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts lead my emotions, actions, and results. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful and persuasive. I improve my skills daily. I'm happy. I love to prospect because it feeds my business. I see my future and it is awesome. I love my life. I'm grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs and optimism to succeed. I get things done. I provide excellent customer service. I drink water daily. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I'm disciplined and accountable to my daily schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I'm a master persuader. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate rock star. I'm passionate about my life. I live every day with purpose. I'm confident in my sales skills. I know my destiny. I'm healthy and strong. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I keep positive signing on, correct the thoughts of my mind at all times. Yes. Tonight. Good morning. Yes, it's so nice. I'm Brandon. Nice to meet you. Morning. Roll play this morning.
Yeah.
Should be, how much ready you have the self-confidence?